money, baby. Two heads are better than one? Let's talk about that. I'm Sandy.
And I'm John.
And this is your Smart Doll News.
Welcome back to the news, everybody.
Yeah, we've had an exciting week, an exciting turn of events.
Yeah, there's actually, I think there was one sort of side thing that happened last week, but we are literally going to talk about one thing tonight and one thing only.
Because it's a big topic, and if you think about it, there's a lot more to it than just what happened on the website.
And if you don't know what's happening, well, hold on, we'll get into it. But first, we need to talk about our Smart Doll Supers.
This week it's Janice Harding. Thank you so much for your continual support. We love you.
We have had such a great time getting to know all of you through like the Discord, through the channel, and we really do appreciate your support week after week with your super chats and your super stickers. I do want to make a couple announcements. Like I said, we've got a big topic tonight, so I'm going to make kind of our break announcements first before we dig into this. We have a couple of new things in the merch shop. I think we teased this last week or the week before.
I understood the assignment.
Yes, you did. And if you do, you'll buy this t-shirt. I understood the assignment shirt is basically the perfect thing if you always buy way too many Smart Dolls. And
it actually kind of goes along with the topic for tonight, actually.
It does to some extent.
Yeah.
So we've got the I understood the assignment tee, and we also have taken from some of those the language learning cards. This awesome little graphic, Nekomimi.
So cute.
And that is Mirai as a cat girl with a little cat there. So that's also a fun t-shirt. And that was... I can't wait. We still haven't ordered it. We've got to order this one ourselves.
Yeah, I need that one. I think I want it in the lemony color, this sort of, I forget what it's called. It's like a pale yellow.
Probably citron, I believe. Here you go.
Citron?
Yeah. The citron is a very, very nice color. So, 2 new t-shirts. There's maybe some other surprises in there, but we'll save that for another week. So I also wanted to talk about something that we've been working on for a little bit. Well, actually, quite some time.
Yeah, it's at least been in the thought process for a long time.
And I finally buckled down and have gathered some volunteers from the Discord, and I'm really happy to preview. It's not available yet, but we're previewing for you the sculpt database that we're working on. And it's going to be really, really useful, I think. You're going to have the ability to pretty much browse all of the dolls and even look at a sculpt and see all of the dolls that are in that particular sculpt. So keep your eye out for that. Check the Discord. I will say this: we will need your help. There's a particular problem that we have to solve, which is I would like we have for the dolls. There's lots of pictures of the dolls, but very few pictures of the sculpts. And I do want to collect images of the front of a blank sculpt and the back of the head. So I'm not sure how I'm going to gather them up and keep it organized, but keep your eye on Discord. I'll probably be sending out a request, maybe a new channel to gather them or something like that.
So another benefit of joining our Discord.
Yeah, and if you haven't, you should definitely check that out. you can go to myladydisdain.com/discord. You can also, there's a link in the description to that as well. And you may want to use that because some people, if you have any issues with the invite, try just clicking the link in the description. So we have one more thing. And again, because we're not going to have a break, but if you are enjoying our videos and enjoying getting updates on the news each week, be sure to give a like to this video and help us spread it to more people.
And Nefertiti, thank you for sharing the link to the Discord.
So that pretty much gets us into the headline. So what happened, Sandy?
Well, Danny just decided to do something new and different for us. We are able to buy heads with eyes and wigs without bodies.
Yeah, he's calling them option heads, which basically means what? We get to choose, like we choose bust sizes, we could choose an alternate head.
Right, but we don't get a body.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that and a lot of reasons that it was done. I think some people are really excited about it. Some people are like not as excited about it, but there's a lot of implications to it. And Danny does go into them, and he did encourage everyone to read the blurb the full blurb, but I know from conversations I saw that a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
So
it is really important to read. Danny, I don't know the best way to put this. Like he gates like content and protects certain things, like the chaos, and stuff like that, behind the ability to pay attention and read. Like that is his number one test. If you can read and comprehend what he's saying, then he knows that you get it, and you're not going to misunderstand and think you order a full body when you only ordered a head.
He's trying to cheat you out of something or anything like that.
Yeah. So this is very new for Danny. Let's talk about. Let's just make sure we are clear on what you get. Where's our list here? Sandy, you got it?
An option head is a smart doll character minus their body. For example, option head Fortitude T will be her painted head, her head cap, installed eyes, and wig minus the body, sports bra set, stand, and canvas bag. And then Vision, who is the doll with her eyes closed, she doesn't come with eyes. But it's this. Other than that, it's the same.
Yep. So, I mean, there's lots to talk about here, but initial reactions, how do you feel about it?
I think it's a good idea. I'm interested in seeing, this is another part of the topic, but I'm interested in seeing what it does to the secondhand market.
All right, yeah.
And I personally, it's not really my thing because I tend to, I attach a body to a doll and give the whole doll a personality. So I feel like if I put a different head on the body, I feel like I've stolen somebody's body, and it's just not right.
It's a hard thing for a lot of people to do, I think.
Even though the bodies are exactly the same, it's just when they become like a totem of a person for you, it's hard to separate them from their body.
And that's okay. If that's you, don't buy one. There is, there's a very specific reason he's doing this, I think. And, it's not to provide and make sure everybody buys a doll head, right? So let's talk about why. This
is the big one.
That's the big question here, right? He basically talks about his team, and he actually spells it out for us. He has 9 production members that can only produce a fixed number of bodies. So this is how many people who are building bodies, and it is the single hardest thing or most labor intensive process that they go through.
Right. Now, in the past, just as a side thing, in the past, he has said that when you went into the store, you could get a job with him if you could put a body together, put a smart doll together in under an hour. I believe that was the rule.
So, like, that gives you some idea of
how many bodies can they make in a day.
Right.
Especially knowing that they probably have other responsibilities too.
Yeah, so I wanted to take a look at, I went through some of the pictures that Danny has been putting out. These are a lot of things that we skip every week. They're the same thing every week, right? Mm-hmm. Danny peppers some of his timeline with just the behind the scenes of making the doll. So here we see the frame in its sort of injection molding, coming out of that process. Mm-hmm. They've got to take those things apart and put the frame pieces together, and they're like usually held with little screws.
Right, and then they have to get they have to take it apart. They have to file things down so that little stump thing comes off. And, so all of this has to be done.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah, they've on the other side on the vinyl, they've got to do all the cutting, which anybody who's tried cutting the vinyl, it is hard. Doing it well, and doing it well, like, it doesn't look like the vinyl on the dolls is hand cut. And
that's that 1 hour thing, I believe that was a doll that's already been cut. Like, you're just assembling the body.
Possibly.
I don't because that's what he would do. Like, if you could go to the store, you could sit down and have the experience of assembling a smart doll.
Right.
And then he said if you could get it done in an hour, I believe that's what it was, an hour, that
sure.
you could get a job with him.
That's sort of his prerequisite. Yeah. His entry test. So you can see here we've got like this is a batch of bodies. You've got 7 bodies essentially created here, and just the vinyl pieces. So all of those have to be perfectly cut. And then you can see they start laying them out with the pieces that we saw before now assembled. So you see I talked about the screws. Mm-hmm. So these are the pieces of the frame, the 2 halves screwed together. And then they've got to put them in place. Now here... so you'll see this a lot, and it's a lovely, beautiful picture. But here you see more of the real chaos that's going on. And you can see here, they've got, all of the sort of posts that come out of the various limbs pointing up, and a bunch of pieces of sandpaper. And that's because they've got to take those posts and sand them just right to get the right sort of level to make sure that they go into the sockets, and to make sure that they stay in the sockets at a good sort of tension. So it's not just as simple as plug and play. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and if you notice, they've got grease products there, they've got glues, and then after they get it all together, they go through and make sure that it moves and does what it's supposed to do.
Right, and of course that means possibly adjusting the joints and things like that.
So take it apart again, fix the screws, so this is a lot of work.
It definitely is, and they so we've got a huge production problem right now, basically, right? Like there are so many people that want dolls, and there's so many dolls. Like Danny is it really seemed based on what's been coming out and what's been in Danny's stories and things. He is cranking out ideas like crazy.
Oh yeah.
And so bunch of dolls that everyone's been waiting on, and no bodies, not enough bodies to really release them. So the big thing here is he's got to figure out the production issue, and the one thing is he needs to be able to make bodies more efficiently and at scale.
Right.
And the other side of that is, the possibility of hiring people. Now, where does Danny stand on expanding his team?
He doesn't want a huge corporation.
Yeah.
He likes his small business. He likes being able to be creative. He likes his team small. So he has to make adjustments in order to keep that flowing.
Yep.
He says, we could cut corners, accept a dive in quality, and work late nights to make more. Sure, we could make more money, but money is not the name of the game at Smart Doll Land.
And that's really important to keep in mind when you're thinking about how Danny makes his decisions. And I think what's been happening is, like, I'm sure people have been complaining, but this has been going on and getting worse and worse. And I think they've sort of gotten into a hole with production and versus demand that he's having to do something. And he is doing things. He is working. He talks about technologies here. Mm-hmm. We've been looking at it. We've been seeing it in the news. We can see him working with, bringing in-house injection molding, being able to play more with that. Also, the frame.
The frame itself is obviously being built so that it can, if it's not obvious that it's being built to, what is the words I want? Like, just to make it go together faster.
Yeah, we know the main thing he has talked about with the frame is, like, and what we've been talking about for a while is the stability of it and, like, how much weight it can carry, like, that sort of thing. Right. But you've been saying this for a while, and I didn't see it as much until this launch, because now I have pointed this picture out a couple of times, mm-hmm. and thinking about it through the eyes of the production problem and the speed and efficiency for making the Smart Doll, this sort of joint, this is essentially the hip socket, right? Mm-hmm. So this is this is basically the upper part of the thigh.
Right.
And the knee plugs into it. Mm-hmm. Currently, the knee is just, it's essentially a socket and a post, and they have to fit just right. They're designed in such a way to bring some tension in there, but as you can see with the pictures we had before, they do a lot of, like, sanding and things like that to get it just right. Mm-hmm. Whereas here, this cutout on the thigh, and this is, I can't imagine this is for anything else. This gives this piece of plastic some stretch, some give, mm-hmm. right? And allowing it to have that give means that they could put a post that's a little bit larger than the hole is, mm-hmm. causing this socket to stretch a little bit, to open up a little bit, and that in and to itself will provide the tension to keep it in there.
Right. So it's eliminating some steps or reducing the amount of time on some steps. It just seems like it's going to go together faster. And if, Danny's a smart guy, I can't imagine him designing this new frame and not having it be more efficient, as well as being able to be more stable and bear a heavier load.
Right. A quick point. This is the spine that he's been working on, and you can see similar design here in the shoulder sockets as well. Mm-hmm. Now, the current shoulder sockets use a screw, a similar sort of clamp idea, but their tension is with a screw. So they actually are sort of designing these where the tension is built into the design of the piece. No screw, it doesn't look like a screw would be needed, and they're using that design in multiple places on the frame. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sure the screws alone, it's these, from what we can see, these may very well be screwless pieces of the frame.
Right.
So more time saved. End result, though, he is working on it. He's working on the problem, but it's still going to take some time before this is ready to go.
And it's kind of like, all right, if you take your if you make your surgeon continually apply band-aids to a problem, he doesn't have time to actually fix your problem inside.
Right.
Right? So by continuing to pump out crazy amounts of the old frame, he is taking time away from getting the new frame out there.
Yep.
So it's like what are we doing? We're trying. He's creating sort of a stopgap so that he can fix things and get back to the production that he wants to be at.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he is happy about this situation, but he has drawn a very clear line about the scaling of his team. And more so, I mean, for all we know, he may be scaling his team. But the amount of time it would take to get somebody in there and get them up to speed, like it doesn't actually solve the problem right now. Like it is, the problem is too big for him to just throw money at it anyway. So we know he's not going to do that. He is going to innovate on the technology side and on the product side with this sort of stopgap, which I think may stick around. But yeah, so that's the basically the why. Let's look at, he does list here what option heads are available. He says some option heads will be unreleased frontline candidate girls, which we saw pretty much almost the whole Millennium Girl squad.
Future, Timeless, and Imagine were all released in T.
Yeah. And they sold out in minutes.
Yeah, I think what happened was Danny gave a heads up, and then people started like refreshing pages.
Oh yeah,
and those dolls were gone by the time he made the announcement that it was there. They were gone.
Yeah,
because we were on it. We were waiting.
People were stalking. People were stalking the whatever the history page, which is hopefully they took the time to read it. He also said some will be characters that we prepped for release but decided to cancel. So this is really cool because normally we wouldn't get these at all. Like he was ready to go but ended up dropping them for whatever reason, and now he's got a way to sell those dolls or those characters off without having to worry about putting the investment in the rest of it. So let's so here's an important thing. If really important two sentences in here, you got to read everything. If body production catches up with character selection, they may not continue to sell the heads because ideal experience, it's a doll.
Get your whole doll.
Yep. So be warned, this may be temporary. It may stick around, though. I think it depends on what is the use of it, and he has control over who goes in it. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll find some options there. But what about the production cap, Sandy?
Okay, so option heads do have a production cap. He says even though we use paint masks, heads are still hand painted.
Yeah, it still takes time and money, and I think a large part of the money is like the electroplating process and things like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is paint masks, yes, they are supposed to make it easier. But they do still go in and do stuff just with a regular brush. They're not just spraying some airbrushing on there and letting it go.
But even that takes time and effort. I mean, it's time and effort, and no matter what, somebody has to make it.
Yep. Characters that are removed from the listing are retired. If the character shows sold out for a few days, it usually means we are trying to make more or deciding whether to retire them. But if they sell out and then the listing just goes away, they're not coming back.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens and how that plays out as doll releases are happening, which we haven't seen yet. So keep your eye on that. But supposedly, if they're gone from there, they're gone for good. That would imply that all the dolls in the option head are also up for sale. Let me reverse that. If a full doll is for sale, it's also available as an option head. So I'm not sure, unless he means like retire from the option heads. Does it mean discontinued altogether as a doll?
Probably not just from the option heads would be my guess.
Yeah.
At least in most cases. Like Dauntless in T, I believe, was on the option head list, but she's also a frontline doll.
Yep.
So she's probably gonna come back as a full doll at some point.
Yeah. But there's lots of like sort of side stuff like Genesis Sobakasu. There's like some of the alternate. Jazz was in there. Mm-hmm. Now Jazz is probably just going to be gone, but Jazz ended up becoming Foundation, right?
Yes.
And so that Jazz doesn't have the cleft lip.
Right.
So it's an alternate version of that head, probably going to be limited, release, because it's not an actual like full doll or full release doll head. You also have the grid. How the difference between the grid and this is basically that the grid is much more like one-offs, occasional things, and that falls under the chaos sort of orders of you have to place 2 orders on the site, which we should talk about. We have a restriction here that in order to buy an option head, you have to either be a smart doll owner, mm-hmm. so you have to have a smart doll already. Basically, you have to have a body for it, right?
Right.
Or you have to, if you're a first-time buyer, you have to also buy a full doll. So you could buy a full doll, like you could decide for whatever reason you wanted to buy Genesis mm-hmm. and Genesis Sobakasu.
Right. So like summertime and she's got freckles now.
Right.
But you could buy, say, Valiant and put an option head on her. So that's if that's something that you're willing to do, that's how newbies can do this.
Pricing, we're at 39,000 Japanese yen. This is not priced to sell. It's it's not priced to, like, you're not going to get you're not going to be able to buy a body for the remainder price.
No. Not secondhand, not from Danny. It's not going to work that way.
Right. So just be aware of that. This is, you judge this. Look at it as the value that you're getting out of it, but know that the head is where the majority of the cost of a doll is.
So that is, as I was stating earlier in the stream, that's going to affect the secondhand market. Because currently, like in the U.S., what are we paying for, up until this point, up until the yen kind of dropped and everything, we were looking at a body being between like $300 and $350.
Okay.
And a head being like, depending on what it was, if it was sold out, anywhere between like $180 and say $225. And by this, it would seem, that Danny is valuing it's head, wig, and eyes. The eyes are like a couple thousand, but that as a much larger portion of the doll than some would, and it makes sense. Like, it is actually the more expensive piece for him to make, mm-hmm. whether it's what we value or not or think it is. It is the body may take more time and manpower and be limiting to the production line, but it is cheaper to make than the money that has to go into the heads. Right.
Interesting thing here. He says some option heads will have characters we have not officially released due to the production cap, which we just did, right? We just had Future, etc. These girls, they have a name, but they don't have a product detail page or a story. Some folks may regret purchasing an option head only to find out later that the character represents something that does not resonate with them.
Right.
Which I found interesting. I'm like, I didn't really think about that before.
Yeah, because we all have, like, in fact, in our before you buy video, we talk about it, like trying to choose your smart doll. The story is one of the reasons that a lot of people choose, like, why they choose a particular smart doll.
Yep.
For example, you bought Anime Fortitude for your sister because she went in for heart surgery.
Yep.
So
I did not buy it for her because of the face up.
Right. So if Fortitude had a completely different story, when she came, like, say she wasn't released and she comes out later and she's got a completely different story, well, that kind of changes things a little bit.
It could. It probably wouldn't. Fortitude. I mean, it's probably enough down that track, to work. But you just don't know. You don't know what that story is going to be, and if that matters to you, keep that in mind. It does say that if the unreleased dolls may still get a design change before releasing.
Right. So the one that you get as an option head may not be the same as exactly the same as the one that comes out as a full doll later on.
Yeah. Some of them haven't had their photos taken. Yeah. So it's just letting you know that the stuff, the clothes in the photo, you're not getting it.
So going back to that previous point, that's an awesome thing for collectors. Because you might end up with a version of Future or Timeless or something like that that is actually different from the final release.
Yeah.
So
definitely. And then lastly, he does say, well, I guess it's not quite lastly, there's an 8. It may be quite some time before they can catch up with, the body production can catch up with the character selection. If they do manage to catch up, they will, this is very cool, they will sell bodies standalone. Like, so there is the chance that if suddenly they can get ahead of the game, that they will start producing option bodies and allow you to pick up a full body from him and give that to your doll that has been previously headless. The problem is the likelihood of them actually catching up, like, or getting beyond things. It may not end up that way.
Right. And then the more, there's a situation with that where people start buying, like, okay, so you buy Valiant because you need a body, but what you really want is, I don't know, somebody else, like, I don't know, Ambition, right?
Yeah.
So you buy Ambition's head and you buy Courage or Valiant or something like that. Well, now you've taken a body as well.
Yeah.
That could have gone to somebody else or something like that. And you're forcing him into producing more bodies than he can handle because you don't actually need bodies, but you're buying them anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, you need bodies or you want bodies, but it's going to get really weird if people end up starting to flood the secondhand market with heads that they didn't want of mainline, dolls that people aren't gonna buy because they can get it from Danny.
Right.
So it really is. These are really not intended for. I mean, maybe there'll be a stopgap in hope, and maybe somebody goes on the secondhand market. But how is the secondhand market for bodies right now?
They're not out there. I mean, like, from what I've seen, there are not many people selling just bodies right now. Even before this option head thing, they just didn't happen very often. Now, you could go onto a Facebook group and ISO looking for a body, and maybe somebody that has a big collection might go, yeah, I can sacrifice a T-body, but it's few and far between. I mean, most people hang on to those bodies.
Yeah. Now, Danny does give us another option, or at least will be soon. We've seen it multiple times. If I can click. The cyborg torso is coming down the pipeline, and that will be a sort of interesting sort of middle way to mount them in a not usable way, but at least more of a display, a nice display option. There's also people on people 3D print, and they can get them on Etsy, like bust
forms.
forms. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Every time I hit that top, doesn't work. And yeah, so let's talk about. I mean, we've sort of been talking about it a little bit, but who should buy this? Who's this for?
This is for people who are already having what we generally call floating heads. Like, these are for people who keep a certain number of bodies, but they have like a whole wall of heads. Yeah. And it is something that they do. They don't like to keep the bodies. They try to keep their collection contained to a smaller space.
Yeah, I mean, for saving money, that can be helpful if you can collect heads instead of collecting, full dolls.
Yeah, I think mostly it's about people who are accustomed to saving the space. I think is like the storage of your doll collection. You don't, you keep the heads tucked away and you decide who you want out as a full doll when. Yeah. And then you don't have as many. I mean, it's definitely easier to keep a head the size of an apple than it is to keep a 2-foot tall smart doll.
Absolutely.
And
plus, then you need less clothes.
Right. You do need less clothes. So that's who this is designed for. Because if we all go out and buy a doll that is available with a body and we buy an option head, we are doubling the need for a body.
To some extent.
Or the desire for a body, basically. So, like, I can turn around now and put my Valiant head on the secondhand market. Now someone else is going to be scrambling for a body. So the idea is this was a method for people to get some heads that weren't normally going to be released, and that they are willing to have floating heads. Because, like, for us, we didn't do it.
So there's another person. There's people who like alternate versions of their dolls, and
this is true.
For instance, I have Raycon here, her original Kabuki head, her custom painted head. These are the same doll to me.
You have decided that this is all Raycon.
Yep,
so
all one character.
You don't have a problem switching the head back and forth.
So I think what we're going to see is, we're going to see some like the Freckles version of Genesis, like Jazz coming out. I think there's a good chance that we actually might see only through the option heads the release of Anime Relentless without the Kintsugi.
Right.
Similar to how Jazz was released.
I want that so bad. I want Anime Relentless with no crack in her face. I want it so badly.
We're also going to see dolls that we've been wanting for forever, and they've been gone. We've been missing them. I don't know. Kanata.
Where's Kanata, Danny? In the drawer?
And I think she's coming. And I think she is, I think we're going to see Kanata, probably when he hits the cinnamon heads.
Right.
So there are, I think, for certain people looking for like that Grail doll, it's worth it to grab the head while you can and search for a body.
Right. Take your time searching for a body.
But I think you're gonna find. I think there's gonna find that like certain situations for certain people, like it's gonna like that one head's gonna come out and you're like I gotta have it.
Right.
And maybe you're really really afraid, but if you're somebody who's collecting a lot, not just like my Grail doll came out, like I understand you've been waiting for Future forever. I gotta have Future. I'm gonna grab her head while she's out, and then worry about the body later. I think there's gonna be situations where that might make sense for you as a minimum amount.
I would say I'd definitely be tempted by Coco Future.
Yeah.
when he does the Coco releases. I would definitely be tempted to grab Coco Future just in case she doesn't come out.
Yeah, and we would probably buy a Coco doll to go with her to expand our Coco bodies.
Right.
But we would be still swapping and we'd be keeping the head. Like that's
right.
So I think we need to expand our Coco bodies anyway.
Yeah, we only have one, so we actually need to have more Coco.
Kelly Poplar says that needs to be a T-shirt. Is Kanata in the drawer? I don't know. We'll think about it. I think I'm going to miss the boat on the Kanata T-shirts. I've been working on a Kanata T-shirt, a couple different designs, and I can't get it to a place where I like it. And I'm pretty sure the problem is going to be solved before
you get
I
the
even
shirt
get
out
there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had is this permanent? We basically talked about that. It may be.
Maybe, but maybe not.
I think the alternate heads, I think Danny's going to start to see, I hope, the benefit of being able to put alternate versions out. And if the normal girls, I would love to see when everything shakes out that, let's say, for instance, that, we release Comey. Smart Doll releases a Comey and Comey Doll is there. Now, I think that it wouldn't. Well, this probably wouldn't work with a licensed doll. But setting that aside, this is a doll that begs for multiple heads.
Yes.
And I could see either having a main doll with a head and then the alternate version of that doll in the option heads, or maybe both as dolls and both in options. So
right,
you
so
could decide.
Yeah, you just buy one of them.
But I guess that doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
No, I think I would say maybe regular Comey gets released, and then Big Eye Comey is an option head.
Yeah.
My nose is itchy, guys.
All right. Any other benefits that we see to this at this point?
Environmentally,
Sure.
if it forces people into just having option heads.
If people really got into using floating heads, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, what I talked about before, which is storage.
Right. Yeah. So I think there's a lot here, and I think it's time we take a second, check in with the community, have a little fun, and then come back for some Q&A.
We turn the news over to you guys.
So definitely expect a lot of questions, opinions, and all sorts about this. But we will see you after this.
We came to party all night long and sing along to every song. We don't need nobody's attention, don't need nobody else in our zone. Making plans so as we go, where we dance when no one knows just how we want it. We want it. Going left, going right, doesn't matter tonight, just how we want it. We want it. Yeah, we just wanna have fun. The trunk's full of wine. We're gonna stay up, have the time of our lives. The night is young, don't need anybody else. We came to party all night long, and we don't need no chaperone. We don't need nobody's attention. Yeah,
Okay, some cute pictures in that one.
Yeah, somebody was watching us. That was, I love the Smarty Party. Again, check out our Discord. We love getting to see everyone's picture each week. And and get to really, highlight what you all are doing with your girls.
And Angel Kitty, thank you for the super sticker.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
And I believe I saw going through there, it's your birthday, so happy birthday, Angel Kitty.
And if she's wrong, happy birthday anyway.
Yeah.
So it is time for the Q&A. Let's talk option heads. Have we completely talked ourselves out? What do you have to say? What are you feeling? Put the word question in at the beginning of your message, and to make sure that we can see it amongst all of the noise. I can't. I'm really excited by the option heads, even though there's nothing necessarily that I want right now.
Right.
But it's just like the possibilities and the options.
Yeah. I'm excited, to see what direction this, like I said, this takes the market, good or bad, what it does for Danny or doesn't do for Danny.
Yeah. I'm
interested to see how this impacts the business.
Yeah. Happy as Gilmore says, I have added and removed the vision head from my cart 3 times. That is probably a really just easy excuse, that head.
I would snag the vision head just to put, it doesn't really, to me, I saw them as like a mannequin. So I like them, the idea of using it as like a wig form, or just having it like as a mannequin. So it doesn't need a body of its own so badly to me.
Yeah. Anna Britton Lewis asks, is that a new hair color? I like.
Thank you. I colored it myself today because it really needed it. Yeah. So yes, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A little touch up there. Kay says, I love Coco Kabuki, but I'm not sure if I should get her because I don't know how I would style her. Do you have any advice on how to dress Kabuki? Do you find it hard to dress her casually? I don't.
No, she looks really good in just jeans and a t-shirt kind of thing. Like it actually really does work.
Yeah, I mean, I have numerous pictures of me with Kabuki in the nice sweater and the floral capris. I think she looks great in it.
Yeah, and another direction that John had decided that he likes to take with her is the Japanese version of what is called login look.
Yep.
The Scandinavian login look, which is just the very modern, oversized clothing look, which is as popular in Japan as it is in, I guess, is it Norway?
Yeah,
Sweden?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it would play on Coco specifically, how maybe the colors of the clothes are going to have to be a little bit different. Coco tends to really like more vibrant colors.
The Mori girl outfit, fantastic on Kabuki.
But of course, traditional stuff like the hakama here. But I would say check out Atelier Akiko.
Yeah.
And she does some really interesting more traditional Japanese stuff, but also some interesting streetwear stuff.
Mm-hmm. And she has sourced some really good prints. She uses really good fabrics. I think that's one of my biggest things about Atelier Akiko. She got some good stuff.
Thank you, Amy Zickerman, for your super sticker. We also have Anna Sickafus says, do y'all think second market bodies will increase in price? If I had to wager, probably.
Yeah, because you're going to get a lot of collectors going, I'm only willing to sell if I can get X amount for it.
Demand is going up, yeah, and they're not increasing.
Right, and so I would hope that it wouldn't go insane, but I think that it will.
Pernell says, I'm not sure how it works with the floating heads. Can they only be purchased if I've bought a smart doll from Danny? I have 3 smart dolls from Anime Sugoi.
I would think that if you can prove that you bought dolls from Anime Sugoi, that he should be okay with that. Because that's his partner.
Yeah, what I'm not sure of is whether or not... I think you're gonna have to put in the notes on the email that you haven't purchased from him before, but you have purchased from there and can send a receipt or something like that if needed. That way it'll at least prompt him to follow up with you and not just outright cancel the order.
Right. Yeah. Like I purchased something for John once and I had never purchased, and I put in who I was and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, okay. That's he's like, I just pushed your order through. I was no longer a first-time buyer."
Yeah, and I mean that went easily because he had all the info, like he had my information, and then it just passed it basically along to you. You may need to do more with him. I don't know if he's going to require a receipt or if just he will trust the fact that you said you had it. But at the very least, tell him and start the conversation and figure out what you need to do.
The team does read those little note boxes at the bottom of your purchase.
Magic Durgan, have you noticed any staining from the new ninja outfit? Curious, as it's a very pigmented color. I was just
We have not checked it yet.
the same thing.
We have not checked it.
Do you want to grab her and I'll keep looking for questions?
So you want me to take that off her and see if she's staying?
Yeah, she needs to come off anyway, so we'll find out. Let's see. Canal says, do you know if the pocket dolls are going to be a one-time thing or going to stick around? I mean, there's no way to know. I would say Danny's going to follow the business, and I think it's going to depend on how well they do.
Now, he didn't make Smart Doll Plus. Didn't end up sticking around.
Right.
Even though people liked them. But they're big, they're difficult to ship, and they didn't have, as far as I understand, they did not have the movement range of a regular Smart Doll.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. My big concern with the Pocket Doll is it's another doll. Let's call it possibly a more accessible, size for the dolls. There is potential there to massively increase popularity. So my concern for Pocket Doll is, well, if it's going to massively increase if that's going to be massively popular, can he even really invest the man hours, the person hours into manufacturing them, into the production, when we're dealing with the issues that he has now. I have a feeling, I know he's been working on the Pocket Doll and shrinking stuff down. I think, if I had to wager, he is putting Pocket Doll on hold until the new frame is figured out, and then he's going to shrink that down.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. I think with the difficulty in producing the bodies in general, I would have a feeling that she is production on her has probably slowed down a bit.
Yeah. Let's see. Seagrape 1, do you buy accessories for your Smart Dolls like food? Sonic has mini brand foods in their kids' meals right now that are Smart Doll size.
I saw someone posting about that the other day, and they're very cute. There's like a little chicken nuggets type thing, and yeah.
We've gotten some. We haven't gone out of our way to collect them.
We don't use them that often.
We don't tend to do modern. We don't tend to do dioramas and things like that, like a modern kitchen or something like that. So for the stories that we tell, those are props that don't usually fit all that well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when we start working more on Raycon's story and whatnot, there might be some occasional need for something like that, but it's not going to be very common.
Kelly Fowler says, do you think Danny would use the option heads as a platform for different expressions that he's been thinking on? That's what I was kind of hinting or trying to say before. I think through this, he may well discover that is like people, like that's something that people would get into, and he could provide more play with the dolls by doing, all slight alternate expressions of dolls. But I mean, know this: it's the from my understanding, the large cost is there's a lot of front loaded cost for a new face up. So if it's adding something in like freckles or something like that, you're layering on another paint mask and combining them. In fact, he often combines different paint masks from different dolls to try things out. But expressions are likely going to be entirely new paint masks if they're done right. And it's tough to say, like the amount of money that would have to be invested in more electroplating and creating more paint masks.
I do not see any red. I do not see staining on vignette from the...
My strategically placed chat message was covering her bum.
Yeah.
All right. Holly Dollnut, sorry, says teasers for your next video, hopefully Saturday. It's Batgirl, and I'm working on it. But yes, hopefully Saturday.
Yeah. We want to make the cinematic really good since we've delayed so long in getting her out there.
Well, I just need to make the cinematic. It's just a lot of effort, and it's been hard.
We've had a bit of a struggle. We come together, we come to you guys, and we try to keep ourselves pretty much pulled together, but things are not the same right now.
Yeah. Motivation. I found. So on a personal note for me, over the last few weeks, I have found my motivation has shifted away from like overly creative stuff, like making the sets and things like that for Batgirl, and shifted more into like the sculpt database.
Right.
I'm shifting out of
creator mode and into collector mode more so.
No, but it's like left brain versus right brain. I'm shifting out of creative mode and into logic mode. It's got to happen. It's got to happen soon. And if Sandy has to just literally kick me every 5 minutes until it happens, we'll get it done.
Which I don't really.
No, it's just not going to happen. I don't.
Because then he gets to turn around and say to me, "Why aren't you getting done the thing that you need to get done?"
And then we just avoid each other and don't motivate at all.
We're like the opposite of enablers.
Yes, we're disablers. We enable everyone else. We disable each other. Yeah. Lovely Day, how's it going? Lovely Day says you've got to follow the motivation sometimes. You can't force it. And, yeah. I totally agree. I will say, it's mostly, obviously there's the YouTube pressure to do it, but quite honestly, I think, the community here in the weekly, news is doing pretty well for us. So it looks like, we're essentially experimenting with getting things done when they get done and putting them out the right way instead of rushing them out the door.
Right. Yep. We're always here. We love coming and meeting with you guys on Monday nights. But sometimes the other stuff gets a little bogged down sometimes.
Kelly Power says, do you think Cinnamon Purple Kintsugi Relentless, that's a name, will get a body or just a head? a head.
I don't know.
I think it's going to go to a head. So, okay, this is something we missed. Option heads as popularity measurement.
Right.
So, I mean, certainly I don't think this is his intent, and I don't think it's necessarily the best measurement of popularity. But clearly, certain dolls went like that. People were waiting for them, they want them, and they're willing to get it even though it's just an option head.
Right.
They're willing to pay the higher price point than maybe you would think. They're willing to deal with all the other stuff because they want future, timeless, imagine, jazz. These unreleased girls, they want them. If he were to release, I think that is a way to judge the veracity, or is that the word I'm... just how rabid is the response, right? I think though there's a threshold. Like, I wouldn't say that just because something didn't sell out in 5 minutes means that it's not going to be a popular doll. But I think that if it sells out in, under a minute, that it guaranteed is going to be a popular doll.
Right.
All right. Let's see. It's looking like that is the end. Let's see if there's any comments that we want to look at.
Lavely said she's been lurking and is excited about the heads but needs bodies. I don't see floating heads as dolls, but instead part of one. I am 100% with you, Sarah. Yeah. I agree. I have a hard time separating things. I have to even remember that, wait, the body that's like in the window getting sun treatment belongs to Cammy. I can't mess them up, even though they're the exact same body.
We have so many dolls. For me, it's the blue girls are what has started to make me more open to this. We have the bodies are running out. Like, there's literally not going to be more. But do I want more characters for stories? Yes.
Right.
So there's a set of dolls, mostly the blue ones, that are just like we pretty much just bought because I need more characters. And we planned from the beginning. I think we have more than that now. It's probably like 5 or 6 bodies, but we planned for like 3 bodies and then to get like chaos heads and paint customs. We were planning on custom heads anyway. And when you have custom heads, like I wasn't planning on trying to buy blue bodies.
Right.
I think the only one we've done that for is Iki, and we have a singularity head, an anime singularity head that we haven't gotten around to selling, but that's
she will
the plan.
Probably be part of a sale at some point.
Either that or she just becomes another background character. I don't know. So yeah, I hear you. There's a door has cracked open for me that is like, this is possible. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think kind of when you start doing it, it starts to get easier.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird for me. I can't adjust to it.
They're going on vacation. They're sleeping, they're going into one of those hotels.
As Danny would say, they're in cryo sleep.
Yeah. Canal says, how do I find a place for my smart doll in a room more chaotic than Chaos Outlet? Suspension.
Suspension, great idea. Incorporate them artistically.
Yeah.
Or if you have something that, like, say it's on your desk or whatever, and you have like things that are normally sitting on your desk, let your smart doll hold that thing.
Yep.
Think of ways that you can use them other than as just a doll.
Yeah, so it's what time is it? I have no clocks anywhere. Yeah, this is a good time. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously a lot of reasons why a lot of people will not be buying option heads, and that's a good thing. There's only so many ways that he can kind of stem the stop the bleeding here, and Danny's just got to be able to focus on getting that new frame and those new bodies really worked out. Pure speculation, Sandy. How long? When do you think we're gonna see a new frame? How long are we gonna be in this situation?
I think it honestly depends on how people treat the idea that you can buy a body and an extra option head.
No, that's not what I'm asking. Not how long are we gonna have option heads? Because like him taking it away.
No, I'm saying like how people treat that. Like, do people go, I want this option head badly and I really need a body, so I'm going to buy another doll that's currently available. I think that we need to keep that, if we as consumers keep that in a reasonable state and don't do it if we don't need to, then I think we might get the new body sooner. Because he won't be putting so much effort into making the current body.
So what it sounds like you're saying is that you believe that this is allowing Danny to make less dolls or less bodies.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's making just as many he's making as many bodies as he can plus doing this. Because otherwise he's not fixing the problem at all. He found a solution that allowed him to offset the impact of that solution by...
What I'm saying is I'm hoping that the option heads doesn't drive things even further.
Sure. Okay.
He needs to catch up is what he's basically said.
Right. Let me ask my question again. How long do you think it's going to be before we actually get a frame and we solve the real problem?
Next year.
Yeah, I think end of year is the easy, pluses, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next year, early next year, and I think Pocket Doll gets pushed further into next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Probably some of the biggest news I think that we've talked about as far as like changing how we buy, or at least how some people buy. Definitely hoping, I'm hoping for this to evolve into alternate faces and things. What are you hoping for out of this? Other than like the world not exploding.
Yeah, hoping the world doesn't explode. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that there'll be some dolls that like I get a different face for, like any one of my fave girls with freckles that don't already have them, things like that.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll be watching it week after week along with you all. And of course, we'll be talking about it here on Mondays. So keep joining us live. We love having you all. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Vamp while I find the button. There you go.